What's up, guys? Welcome to today's show. We're talking all about setbacks, and we've all encountered them. And if you think you haven't, it's only a matter of time before we do. And setbacks are just a part of life and can often be out of our control. Sometimes it's due to our own mess up, our own mistake, but a lot of times it's things completely out of our control. But one thing that is always in our control is how we respond to those setbacks. When you experience setbacks, do they consume you and wear you down? Or do you respond on the other side even stronger than you were before the setback? Listen up to today's show for some strategies on how to properly view and respond to setbacks. Now, setbacks in the moment are not fun. When you're in it, this is so much harder to deal with. And if you're going through something right now, I can empathize with you guys. I know how hard it is to be in the thick of it when you're in the middle of a setback. These things are not easy. But when you're on the other side of them, it's an incredible opportunity to realize the growth opportunities and realize how much these setbacks really grow us. Now, like I said, if you're in the middle of it, you just got to get through it. There's times and there's days, and depending on how long the setback is, sometimes months. It's hard day after day to get that consistency. But first off, I know you guys can do it. I know you guys can get through it. You've gotten through past setbacks, and you will get through many other ones. And I know how hard it is to deal with this when you're in the moment of it. But I want to talk about some things today to give you guys an idea of how to look at them differently so that when you do get to the point of setbacks, then you're familiar with them, you're more ready for it. Now, this doesn't make it easy, this doesn't make them go away, but it does help to make sure that you're growing through it and that it's not just for waste. And a lot of inspiration for this show, and I know a lot of guests have recommended this book. Great book, Obstacles Away by Ryan Holiday. He outlines that the obstacle is the way. It's not that we're trying to live a life free of obstacles or trying to just work around the obstacles. It's going through those obstacles that really help us to grow and to improve and to come out stronger on the other side than we would have if we never experienced that. And personally, I've run into this, many times. A couple examples that popped in my mind when I was prepping for the show where uh, maybe 5 years ago or so now, I had a seemingly small surgery on a cyst on my lower back, and getting that removed. And I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. I think it got maybe it was a little downplayed of how long I'd actually be hung up from something like that. But that took me out of the workouts I was used to doing and out of workouts altogether for a couple months, and probably realistically 3, 4 months before I really got back to feeling, somewhat comfortable around doing what I was doing beforehand. And when you're not prepared for it, which I was, when you're having surgery like that, you're prepared that you're going to be limited a little bit, but when you don't really wrap your head around around the magnitude of what it might be, and this probably sounds a lot like setbacks you experience of maybe you see it coming, but it hits you a little harder than you thought it would. And for me, this was, challenging at first because it was taking longer to heal. I thought it was going to be a quick recovery, and it was just one of those things that I didn't quite feel ready, and it definitely wasn't ready to go back to any kind of heavy lifting or working out. But what I learned from that was a pivotal time for me, because in the past I'd always relied on working out to this might sound familiar to you guys too, outwork my nutrition a little bit. Where I never ate bad. I've always been aware of what I eat and trying to eat clean, but quantity's always been a hard issue for me. And for me, it's always been, well, I can eat more because I'm working out hard, or I work out hard so I can eat more because I enjoy it. And that's something that was tough for me, because that thing where I burn calories, where I made that justification, that excuse, really got taken away for a good 3, 4 months. I mean, realistically, we'll call it half a year by the time really back to full speed with it. So it forced me to step back and reevaluate things like going for walks, things like really dialing in my nutrition. That was the first time I really, thankfully, I'm very fortunate to have played through college football and not have suffered any major injuries, never even missing a practice, thank God. But this was the first time I was really away from working out. And it was the first time that I really had to really be aware of my nutrition habits, because if I continue to eat the way that I was used to, and uh, continue to not work out the way that I was used to, then that's a recipe for gaining weight and doing that. And I was actually able to in some ways improve my ability to control my nutrition better than I ever had before from a setback like that. And that's just one example. We see people in our physical therapy business all the time that suffer much bigger setbacks than that, and chronic injuries, surgeries, things that really disrupt their life. And it's physically tough. It's never fun to be in physical pain, but the mental wear on that is so much tougher than I can even fathom or having gone through. But I can, I see it day in, day out, and the mental wear, the psychological wear that this has on people is enormous, and it's hard. And even in those opportunities, though, one of the most rewarding moments in our career is seeing people, hit the turning point on that and see people get to the other side on that, whether it's through our physical therapy business, helping with our coaching business, coaching men, that turning point, that flipping point where whatever problem they're working through, whether that's a health problem, whether it's it could be a productivity problem or a energy problem, a confidence problem, turning the corner on that and seeing that switch flip, seeing almost a new person in a way, of new skills learned, new resiliency, a new level of patience and respect for their body. That is one of the most rewarding things. And that's just using health as an example, but you can apply this to any setback you're going through, anything you're feeling. And if you can, get through that point, if you can get through it and reflect on the other side of it, man, is that powerful. And that really creates a lot of growth as an individual that we wouldn't get without those things. Now those are just a couple examples. I can think of hundreds, big and small examples, and I'm sure you guys can as well. What I want to do for you guys is give you guys 5 steps, 5 things I jotted down that you can take with you either in a setback or ideally, like I said at the beginning, before and after setbacks, to make sure that you're using those as times to grow. Now, setbacks are going to be annoying and frustrating and defeating if you let them defeat you. But if you're willing to learn from it and grow from it, these can be extremely powerful. Now, first step, I can't remember where I've heard this from. I've heard it multiple places, but life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. So that's just powerful. And that always hits me hard, because there's so many things that in the moment I can complain, I can moan, I can groan, I can get defeated when things happen to me. That's really such a small part of how we're actually, how we're ending up on the other side, how we're actually conducting ourselves, what our attitude is like, what growth we get from it. That 90%, that majority part of it, is how you respond to a situation. Take any example, take a financial setback, one in work, one in your health. That sucks. I know it sucks, but that's not defining you. That alone is not what's keeping you from being where you want to be, because there's plenty of people. You can go read biographies and stories all over the place of people who probably had much less than, at least speaking for myself, that we're fortunate here and wherever you're listening. If you're listening to a podcast on an iPhone or an Android phone, you're probably in the, much more fortunate than a lot of people out there. And the 90% of how we respond is what really makes us, what really grows us, what really grows our character, those intangibles, those things that go far beyond what those outcomes are. So remember that things are going to happen to you. There's going to be setbacks. A lot are not going to be your fault, but how you respond to it is key. Second step, start viewing setbacks as normal and even essential for growth. These shouldn't be feared. These shouldn't be avoided. Like in the book, the obstacle is the way. This is the way that we get growth. We get through things. So don't view them as inconvenient. Don't view them as even unexpected. Expect them and be ready for them when they do come, because they're going to look in varying forms. So there's going to be some big ones, and those are, really what stretches us. But even the small day-to-day ones is how we can show up daily. But if you start flipping the way you look at these, if you start not looking at them as a setback, maybe even you find a different, change the word setback to opportunity is another way to look at it, because every setback is an opportunity to grow and even essential to grow. If life was always easy, if we never had struggle, if we never had any difficulty, then it'd be pretty boring, to be honest. That's where the real growth happens, is when we have those setbacks, when we have those breakthroughs. So just remember that these are normal and essential for growth. Third step, look for the opportunity to grow. Like I said in the last point, you can change the word setback to opportunity, but in any setback, if you will, there's going to be an opportunity to grow. You can ask yourself things like, what am I learning through this? What's the next best step, and how can I grow through this? What has this taught me? And look on the other end of this. Like I said, this is so much easier in hindsight when you get past an obstacle, past something like that. Be always aware, always reflecting of, okay, how is this growing me? How am I better on the other side of that? Because if you start asking those questions, then your mind will start looking for those answers as well. And that's where you're really gonna grow and really gonna improve. Fourth point here, remember all the times that setbacks led to something better and actually be grateful for them. Again, this harder in the moment, hard to be grateful when, say you're experiencing a financial hardship or a hardship in your health, hard to sit there and be like, oh man, this is so great. And it's not a, false sense of gratitude, but being thankful for what you do have. Maybe, in the case of me where I couldn't work out, thank you for having this, healthy food, and thank you for being able to take walks and be able to, still work and do these things that, other people can't do. So there's always things we can find to be grateful in, and we can always look back. So remember, this is where the reflection piece comes in. Make sure that you're looking back on past setbacks and say, hey, I've dealt with some pretty hard stuff before. And if you really think of it, I bet you there's plenty of hard things that you've made it through, whether that's, schooling, work situations, financial situations, health situations. There's a lot of things you can probably look back on and be like, I got through that and I ended up better on the other side of that. And when we can do that, that's powerful to be able to get through the setbacks in the moment. Fifth point ties kind of in with the last few points, but make sure to always be reflecting. And that ties in with the last point of when you can reflect on those things and actually write down, like, how did I grow through this? How did, if you're with a significant other in a marriage, like, how did we grow through this tough situation? Like, sure, there were setbacks, there were rocky points, but when you look on the other side of it, when you reflect back, you can see all those things. You can see how things came together. And I'm sure if you're anything like me, you can look back and say, wow, I would not be where I was today with that. And that's a powerful place to be, because that's where you can really use these things as not not a negative thing, but a positive thing of, man, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to be stronger on the other side of this. And that's where you want to get to. And I hope you guys can take some of these steps, take some of them. I really hope you're not listening here in a place of setback. If you are, I feel you. I'm with you. I know that, I know that there's things that come up, but you guys will get through it, first off. And if you're, currently in a good place, just start, preparing your mind for these things to come up, because to think of it's kind of naive to assume that nothing's gonna happen, that all is gonna be good. We're gonna experience hardships, and make sure that you have the right mindset going into it. Now, I hope this was helpful, because I know I've gotten lost in the middle of a setback, and I've not been able to step back and reflect and think clearly. But if you guys can even get a little bit of time to think about it, your response to this is going to be so much greater, and your growth on the other side of it is going to be so much greater. So I hope you guys can take it, run with it, prepare yourself for when they do come. And I know you guys will get through it. So I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear any feedback from you guys. If you guys are going through anything and need just a listening ear, shoot me an email. Emails in some of the show notes there. Dave@iostrengthperformance.com. Would love to hear from you guys. If you're finding these episodes helpful, that'd be great to know. To be honest, I can see how many people are downloading, but I don't know who you are that's out there listening. So if you guys are listening, would absolutely love a quick email just to let me know you guys are listening in. Let me know what you guys think. If there's any topics you're liking or want to see more of, definitely let me know on that. I have in the show notes there, I made a resource for you guys. It's an awesome resource to put together, the High Performance Health Starter Kit. And this is for guys, or really anyone out there looking to look, feel, and perform your best. So if you find that your energy's down, your confidence is down, and you think your health might be a reason for that, go check out that resource, the High Performance Health Starter Kit. It's a free download for you guys. We talk about mindset, fitness, nutrition, stress, and sleep habits. So great resources in there, things that you can take and start applying today. So I hope this was all helpful, guys. Really looking forward to continuing to see your growth, whether I can physically see that or not. I appreciate every one of you, and I will talk to you guys soon.